Team 10 has just learned that the family of a YouTube star who drove his McLaren the wrong way on the 805 last year, killing a mom and her daughter, are suing.
Our investigator Adam Rakusin joins us on this story. And Adam, they are blaming the city and the county for his death.
Yeah, they're saying that the tragic event was entirely preventable. They say that the police department was warned that Trevor Heitman posed a danger to himself and others. It was a fiery crash that ended with 3 people dead. 18-year-old Trevor Heitman, known online as McSkillet, drove his McLaren the wrong way on the freeway in August of 2018, killing Eileen Pizarro and her 12-year-old daughter. Now, the teenager's parents say the crash could have been prevented. In a recently filed lawsuit, Heitman's family says San Diego police were warned that Heitman intended to drive his McLaren at a high rate of speed the wrong direction on a public roadway, under the delusion that he could drive through vehicles traveling in the opposite direction. The lawsuit says, fearing for his safety and other people's safety, a board-certified psychiatrist, who's a friend of the family, called 911 and made a 5150 request for a psychiatric hold. According to the lawsuit, officers refused to go in the house and were more concerned about how their son could afford a $200,000 car. It says despite the pleas to evaluate Heitman, officers concluded he did not meet 5150 criteria and left the scene without so much as seeing him. The lawsuit says later that afternoon, Heitman got in his car, rammed his dad's car, and drove off. A few minutes later, 3 people were dead. And a spokesman for the county told me that they can't comment at this point. We're still waiting to hear back from representatives from the city of San Diego and PERT. Reporting live in the newsroom, Adam Rakusin, Team 10.
Thank you, Adam. Today, family and friends had a chance to say their final goodbyes to the father, mother, and daughter who died in a terrible house fire in Logan Heights last month. 10 News reporter Mimi Alcala is joining us. And Mimi, before the funeral, loved ones made one final trip.
They did, Lindsay. This morning, loved ones stopped here at the home visiting this memorial set outside before the family was officially laid to rest.
We know them for more than 20 years.
This neighbor, who didn't want us to show her face or use her name, remembers the family as not having much, but always willing to give.
They were really hardworking people, really good people.
Flowers were placed inside of this National City Church and candles lit. A somber and emotional day as loved ones come together to honor the lives of Jose Romero Mayo, his wife Nicolasa Mayo Cortez, and their daughter Heiress. The 3 died after their Logan Heights house went up in flames on October 13th. Investigators believe their own son and brother was behind the heinous act. Wilbur Romero was arrested and charged with counts of murder and arson.
Being outside when that happened, it was like a movie. It's not real.
Before the family was buried, a funeral procession drove by the place they once called home. One final visit before their final rest.
It's so sad.
2 other family members, Wendy and Angel, survived the devastating fire and are now out of the hospital. Friends of their mother, Nicolasa, say she went through several hardships, but was always so resilient through the difficult times.
Oh, she was really friendly, really happy person, really quiet. She always said good morning to my kids.
One thing this neighbor wants is for the community to know how much she appreciates the donations from a car wash fundraiser that helped give this family their final farewell.
The community helped me a lot, and I really appreciate it. I want to say thank you.
And Wilbur Romero is due back in court on Monday. His preliminary hearing has been scheduled for December. Of course, we're keeping a very close eye on this case, and we'll keep you updated with any new developments. Live in Logan Heights, Mimi Alcala, 10 News.
Thank you, Mimi. Another explosion rocking a ritzy La Jolla neighborhood today. For a second straight day, FBI agents were combing through the house above Tourmaline Beach. The home is owned by a man who ran Curtis Technology in Sorrento Valley. The FBI says he was illegally storing dangerous chemicals at the house, as well as 2 other homes in Rancho Penasquitos. Our crew spotted hazmat teams carrying out bright blue barrelfuls of the stuff. One material was too unstable to move, so the bomb squad blew it up. People in the area are shocked someone would keep something so dangerous in their neighborhood.
Any of these houses could just have chemicals in them? I don't know. I mean, I guess you never know.
No word yet how much longer it will take to clear out all of those chemicals.
A woman is in life-threatening condition tonight with head injuries. Police are looking for the driver who hit her and then just took off. It happened around 11 o'clock this morning. Now, the woman was just walking on the sidewalk along Cesar Chavez Parkway near Kearney Avenue in Logan Heights. The driver, we're told, was in a white Ford F-150 pickup. After hitting the woman, he just took off down Kearney. Police say that truck has a California sticker on it.
House Democrats are accusing President Trump of intimidating a witness who is part of the impeachment inquiry. Today, the former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine testified, saying she felt shocked and threatened by the president's words about her on Twitter.
As ABC's Mona Kassar-Abdi reports, the White House is denying that the president was engaging in witness intimidation.
Before lawmakers and the American people, former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine Marie Yovanovitch recalled a chilling account of her final months as America's top diplomat there.
It's not the way I wanted my career to end.
Yovanovitch publicly testifying that the president's personal attorney Rudy Giuliani orchestrated a smear campaign against her that was used to oust her from her post, and outlining how early on she allegedly became collateral damage of the president's apparent shadow diplomacy in Ukraine.
Shady interests the world over have learned how little it takes to remove an American ambassador who does not give them what they want.
The 33-year veteran diplomat also telling lawmakers she was, quote, shocked and devastated to learn she was mentioned by the president in his July 25th phone call with Ukraine's leader, in which he called her, quote, bad news and remarked, quote, she's going to go through some things.
It sounded like a threat.
And mid-hearing, the president continued his attack on Yovanovitch on Twitter, writing, quote, everywhere Marie Yovanovitch went turned bad. His words prompting Democrats to accuse him of witness tampering.
I want to let you know, Ambassador, that some of us here take witness intimidation very, very seriously.
Meanwhile, Republicans pointed out that Yovanovitch was removed in May prior to the events at the center of the impeachment investigation.
You don't have a lot of facts and information relating to the part of this that we're investigating.
Yes, that's correct.
And behind closed doors, the House will also be hearing from a new witness, David Holmes. Holmes is a State Department official who claims to have overheard President Trump's July 26 phone conversation with EU Ambassador Gordon Sondland, where Trump allegedly inquired about the Ukraine investigations. Mona Kassar-Abdi, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
A woman tried to read magazines inside a local library when suddenly she's under attack.
You're bleeding and there are teeth marks on your leg.
The concerns, she says, this incident reveals about library safety.
Plus, a local community celebrating a drop in crime with the party for the men and women hired to keep our streets safe.
And a woman whose son died fighting in Iraq is asking the public for help.
In my opinion, it's for the families.
The small donation, she says, will help honor veterans and their families.
In a gorgeous afternoon, a lot of beautiful sunset photos. Can't wait to show them. Also, a warm up and rain. We'll talk about it. We're back in 90 seconds.
Bridging the gap between the community and the police department. One neighborhood association is throwing a party for the men and women who patrol their streets every day.
Our 10 News reporter Rena Nakano joins us from Fairmount Park, where the party has just begun. Rena.
Hey, Lindsay and Steve, this is a big thank you party going on right now. Residents here say they credit the hard work of these police officers for the decrease in crime and increase in their sense of safety.
That was this house right here.
Daniel Palmer and Russ Connolly reminisce the good old days when the original owners from the 1950s took good care of the new Fairmount Park community.
Being in the area that's in the center of everything is very desirable.
But as the years went on and the homes changed hands, so did the vibe of the neighborhood.
The streets were dirty, houses were becoming more dilapidated.
Drugs, break-ins, and speeding problems along Parrott Street.
We have an affectionately straight part of the downhill side of the street that's called the Parrott Street Raceway.
A person was hit and run just a couple of 100 yards from my house.
The moment they shared their concerns with patrol officers, they say something changed. Instead of simply ticketing offenders, they say the officers took the time to engage with the community.
And I think that that's had an effect on a lot of neighbors because now they suddenly see to slow down, watch for traffic, watch what's going on.
You see people putting a coat of paint on the house. You see people picking up their yards. People are happier, feel more secure.
So as a token of their appreciation and hard work, the Fairmount Park Community Association is throwing a party. Thank you, they say, for making Fairmount Park the desirable, sweet community it once was.
It's more of a family environment than it was 5-6 years ago, in all honesty. It's a lot cleaner, people are a lot more friendlier, there's more participation, more interaction, and I think that's in conjunction with cooperation of our local governments and our San Diego Police Department.
Now, neighbors tell me they want to keep the streak going and also continue to close that gap between the community and the police department. We're live out here in Fairmount Park. I'm Rena Nakano. 10 News.
Rena, thank you. There is an app for just about everything, even vaping, but you won't find it in the App Store anymore. Apple removed all vaping apps from the App Store this morning. The company says it has reviewed its policy and decided no longer support apps that might encourage the use of vaping, e-cigarettes, or any other related products. Apps can be used for things like finding the nearest store that sells vape products and even controlling the temperature and appearance of those vape pens. Another extremely high tide is causing even more flooding in Venice. As much as 70% of the city is now underwater. The mayor has closed historic St. Mark's Square and declared the city a disaster zone. He says global warming is to blame. In fact, just after the regional council rejected a plan to deal with climate change last night, floodwaters came rushing into their chamber. This is the first time that chamber has ever flooded. Damage is estimated to be at over $1 billion.
Now, 10 News Pinpoint Weather, sponsored by Mozzie Heating, Air and Solar, voted Best Heating and Air Company 2 years in a row.
I know our weather's kind of doing a roller coaster, but it felt kind of cool today.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, cooler today, warmer tomorrow, and then we'll be talking about rain next week. So lots of changes in a very short period of time. As we take a look at the current conditions right now, 64 degrees in San Diego. The winds are coming out of the northwest at 6 miles per hour. So a nice light wind out there, or a light breeze if you're near the shore. We're going to be warming up this weekend. The warmest day will be on Sunday. Gusty offshore winds can be expected. They'll be tracking out of the east-northeast, and then a storm potentially by next week. 2 pieces to it, bringing a better chance of rainfall for next week. We're looking at this potentially starting as early as Tuesday afternoon or evening, and then it will continue on Wednesday and Thursday. By Friday morning, it'll start to taper off, and then eventually we'll go back to our dry weather. So here's a futurecast. A lot of moisture tracking to the north, but still dry here in San Diego. We will start to see moisture building in Baja on Monday night, and then eventually making its way to San Diego on Tuesday afternoon. Then a storm system will be developing to the north, bringing all that rain and moisture into the region, which is highly needed. Here's what the models are hinting at. As of Wednesday morning, we could be looking at about ½ an inch of rainfall, and then we continue through Thursday, and there it is. Some areas could be expecting up to an inch, of course. It's still early, almost a week away. A lot can happen, so here's another possibility. So just looking at Wednesday, 1:30 in the morning, very light precipitation Tuesday, and then through Wednesday afternoon, up to ½ an inch of rain through the afternoon and during the day on Thursday. So there's a pretty good chance that we'll be tracking rain. Here's the average. Usually we get about an inch of rainfall. So if we get that out of one storm, we'll be in much better shape. And average temperatures also range at 69 degrees and at night 53, but we've seen highs as high as 100 degrees back in 2010. Here tonight, around 56 in San Diego, 50s in Escondido, 47 in Ramona. In our 10 News Pinpoint 7-day forecast, 70s tomorrow, 80s on Sunday. Will stay there on Monday. And then as the clouds begin building on Tuesday, temperatures go back down to 71 degrees, much cooler with possible rain showers Wednesday and Thursday in the 60s at the coast and also in our inland communities. It is possible the winds will be picking up as well. But for the weekend, the heat is going to be on in our inland communities with temperatures near 90 degrees on Sunday. So I know there's going to be a lot of excitement. Everybody wants to talk about the rain for next week. But for this weekend, elevated fire danger, gusty winds, and 90s inland.
Got to be careful out there. Thank you, Angelica.
All right, it's time to get a check of traffic with Officer Tommy Strickland. How's it looking, Tommy?
It's getting busy out there. We got a couple of crashes to tell you. Best take a live look. On that southbound 15, you got some heavy traffic from Miramar Way and all the way down to the 805. We have a 3-car crash. That's going to be southbound 15 north of the 805. Those vehicles are on the right shoulder. And this is your southbound 163 at Balboa. That's heavy traffic. We also have a 2-car crash. It's going to be northbound 163 at Mesa College Drive off-ramp, and that is blocking the ramp. I'm Officer Tommy Strickland with your 10 News Time Saver Traffic.
All right, Tommy, thank you. We cover the news that you need to know, but it's not just about the problems. Here at 10 News, we are committed to showcasing the solutions and the best of San Diego. So tonight at 7:30, tune in to our Positively San Diego special. You'll see uplifting and inspiring stories from across the county that are a true reflection of life here in San Diego. That is tonight at 7:30.
A terrifying brawl erupting in the final seconds of an NFL game. A player swinging a helmet and hitting another player in the head. Coming up, the severe punishment handed down.
Guilty on all counts. President Trump's longtime associate found guilty. How much time Roger Stone faces in federal prison.
Skycam View, sponsored by San Diego County Credit Union. It's not big bank banking, it's better.
At that point, you don't know where the airplane's going. I mean, there's houses everywhere here, and nobody else deserves to pay for my engine failure.
Well, that 19-year-old pilot, Brett Easter, has an incredible story of survival. His engine stopped working high above Washington State, so he crash landed on Lake Morton. But when he tried to get out of the plane, he got tangled in his jacket. So for 10 minutes, he frantically struggled to escape while freezing water rose higher and higher into the plane. Fortunately, two witnesses were able to paddle out on kayaks to save him. Easter plans to fly again soon.
The NFL says it has suspended Cleveland Browns defensive Myles Garrett for the rest of the season after he struck an opposing player with a helmet during last night's game. As ABC's TJ Holmes reports, this is the most severe punishment for a single on-the-field act in NFL history.
Beyond words, Joe. Oh, my gosh, that's one of the worst things I've ever seen.
A vicious brawl broke out on Thursday Night Football with just seconds left in the game. Watch as Browns lineman Myles Garrett tackles Steelers quarterback Mason Rudolph. The two wrestle around on the ground a bit, but the tension escalates as Rudolph appears to grab for Garrett's helmet, who returns in kind by snatching the quarterback's own helmet off and smashes him in the head with it.
Well, he tackled Rudolph. Rudolph didn't like the way that he was tackled. Oh, gosh. Oh, man.
Other players jump in. Fists and helmets fly before refs finally break it up.
I mean, this is multiple game suspension right here.
In the immediate aftermath, analysts call for severe punishment for the players involved.
He just literally took his helmet and hit him upside the head. To me, that's like assault.
And after the game, Rudolph was incensed.
Total coward move on his part. You know, I get it. I mean, it's okay, though. You know, I'll take it. I'm not going to back down from any bully.
Garrett apologized for his out-of-character assault.
I made a mistake. I lost my cool, and I regret it.
But even his own teammates called his actions unacceptable.
It's inexcusable. He knows that. There's no other way around it.
Expect heavy fines and suspensions for the incident from the NFL, and these two teams face off again in just 2 weeks.
Oh, gosh.
That was TJ Holmes reporting. The league also fined both teams $250,000 and said additional discipline for other players will be forthcoming.
Wow, what a scene there.
Wow. Well, a woman attacked in an unlikely place.
You would think that you would be totally safe in a public library.
She says a dog bit her while inside the library. The bizarre chain of events that happened in the minutes following the attack.
And guilty on all counts, the president's longtime associate is found guilty. How much time Roger Stone faces in federal prison.
And an update on that deadly shooting at a San Diego Church's Chicken. The tribute's underway right now for one of the victims.
10 News Mornings, connecting you to San Diego.
Firefighters up here on the hillside, they've got a good handle on brush fire.
Parents and teachers say they're shocked that the Vista School District voted last night to remove the school resource officer.
And there is a possibility that they could reverse this decision in the coming weeks.
Streets around the county will be covered in pink.
More than 350 of the walkers are breast cancer survivors.
Major warm-up coming our way over the weekend.
The minute you wake up, get caught up with 10 News. Weekdays at 4:30 a.m.
Right now, services are underway for the woman who was shot and killed during a shooting at that Church's Chicken restaurant in Otay Mesa. We've got live pictures from outside the funeral home in Bonita, where a viewing just started for Maribel Marino Ibanez. The 28-year-old employee was killed last week when a disgruntled customer opened fire. 2 other employees working behind the counter were wounded. Friends say Ibanez was newly married and had been working at the Church's Chicken on Del Sol Boulevard for several years as a shift leader. At this point, the gunman has not been found. I'm Derek Stahl, 10 News.
You're in total disbelief, but you're bleeding and there are teeth marks in your leg.
A San Carlos woman's trip to the library turns into a nightmare after she was attacked by a dog.
As our attendance reporter Michael Chen explains, she is now making a plea for tips to help find the dog and its owner.
It's quite tender.
3 days later, the reminder is still stamped on Tricia Erler's leg after a day of relaxation.
I was in total shock.
Turned ugly on Tuesday afternoon.
Kind of yoga and stretching.
She had just finished a class inside the San Carlos library, grabbed some magazines, and was headed into a lounge area to read.
I was behind this woman's chair, and she got up abruptly and swung around like in one movement getting up. And she fell into me, and I kind of fell into the books. And I felt a stabbing pain in my leg. I thought something had stabbed me from her backpack.
Erler limped to the front desk area and pulled up her pant leg.
You're in total disbelief, but you're bleeding and there are teeth marks in your leg. The puncture is here and here.
Nearby, she saw what bit her, a leashed white dog, possibly an Australian shepherd with black markings on the head. Next to it was that same woman with a stocky build in her 20s or 30s.
At that point, she says, according to the librarian, the woman claimed she was headed to her car to get the dog's information. The woman left the library and never came back.
Erler just received her second of 4 shots for a rabies regimen. Back at the library on the front door, we found the animal policy. Only service animals allowed.
Definitely feel that dogs should be checked.
Erler now wary of going back inside.
You would think that you would be totally safe in a public library.
Michael Chen, 10 News.
Under federal law, you can ask dog owners if the animal is a service dog, but you can't ask for documentation. A city spokesperson says in this case, staff did ask the woman confirm that it was a service animal. Anyone with information on this case is asked to call the Humane Society.
Arrests have been made in the massacre at a Bay Area Airbnb on Halloween night. 5 people now behind bars for the deaths of 5 partygoers. They were placed in custody after morning raids at a complex in Marin City, San Mateo, Antioch, and Vallejo. 4 have been arrested for murder and conspiracy and are being held without bail. The 5th arrested as an accessory. Police also now saying 2 of the 5 victims that died had weapons, which may have been a factor to the tragedy.
A sheriff's deputy in Arizona is under investigation for wrestling to the ground a teenager who is a quadruple amputee. We do want to warn you, some of you may find the video difficult to watch. Now, the deputy had arrived after the boy was accused of disorderly conduct. Now, take a look. You can see the deputy struggling with the boy. The teen has no arms, no legs. The video was recorded by another teenager at the group home. Both were arrested, although charges have been dropped.
A man detained and cited by police for eating on a BART platform in Pleasant Hill is suing BART, saying he was racially profiled.
Thought he was joking at first. It was early in the morning. I've never been stopped for something like this before, so I thought he was joking, but
what did he say?
He put his finger on my face and said, "You can't eat on BART." And I replied back, I was like, "I'm not on BART, I'm on the platform." I was like, "I'll be done before I get on my train."
Now, Stephen Foster says he sees people eating on the platform every day. His attorney says BART police officers falsely stated that Foster resisted arrest. BART's general manager apologized for that incident.
New developments tonight involving President Trump's longtime friend and one-time campaign advisor.
Today, Roger Stone was found guilty of 7 charges, including obstruction and lying to Congress. As ABC's Trevor Alt shows us, Stone maintained his innocence throughout the trial.
President Trump's longtime friend and one-time campaign advisor Roger Stone handed a conviction Friday in federal court, found guilty of all 7 charges he faced.
Do you have any comments at all?
None whatsoever.
The jury finding Stone obstructed a House Intelligence Committee investigation, tampered with witnesses, and lied to Congress about his attempts to communicate with WikiLeaks. Stone's trial was the last remaining case stemming from Robert Mueller's investigation. The indictment coming in January, with Stone quickly proclaiming innocence.
Everything that I did regarding trying to get as much public attention to the WikiLeaks disclosures among voters, among the media, is constitutionally protected free speech. That's what I engaged in. It's called politics.
Stone's trial was rife with bizarre twists and turns. Prosecutors presenting threatening text Stone sent to a witness, one saying, "You are a rat," another, "Prepare to die." At one point, Stone was slapped with a gag order after posting a photo on Instagram criticizing the judge and showing her photo alongside a crosshairs target. Roger Stone was President Trump's first political advisor, frequently pushing for Trump to run for office as far back as 1999. While he left the Trump campaign in 2015, he kept in close contact with the president up through the election. Today, the president reacting in anger to Stone's conviction, tweeting accusations that investigators like Robert Mueller and James Comey and Democrats like Hillary Clinton and Adam Schiff had all lied too, asking if this is a double standard never seen before in the history of our country.
If Roger Stone gets the maximum sentence for each of these 7 charges, he faces as much as 50 years in prison, though his sentence is likely to be far less than that, and there is still the possibility of a pardon from his friend, President Trump. Trevor Ault, ABC News, New York.
A member of the notorious Manson gang will remain in prison. Today, Governor Gavin Newsom blocked parole for Bruce Davis. Davis has been in prison since 1971 for his role in 2 of the gang's notorious murders. The parole board says Davis is rehabilitated and has recommended his release 6 times, citing his age and his good behavior. Newsom is now the 3rd governor to decide Davis is still dangerous. Governors Jerry Brown and Arnold Schwarzenegger blocked the previous attempts at parole. A real estate heiress who posted $35 million bail acquitted of murder. Prosecutors say she conspired to kill her ex-boyfriend. What she plans to do next.
And meet the 9-year-old genius who is about to earn his first college degree.
Speaking of genius, let's get a check on traffic. Here's Officer Tommy Strickland.
We got a couple more crashes to tell you about. If you're traveling on that southbound 5, you're going to have a tough drive from Sorrento Valley all the way down to Chula Vista. We also have a motorcycle versus a vehicle. That's going to be southbound 5 north of Old Town. That vehicle is in the center divide. And then also we have a crash that's going to be southbound 163 south of the 8. Those vehicles are on the right shoulder, and you got a slow drive into downtown. One other crash is going to be northbound 15 at Miramar Road on ramp, and those vehicles are on the right shoulder. I'm Officer Tommy Strickland with your 10 News Time Saver Traffic.
The so-called Hillsborough heiress was just found not guilty in a notorious Northern California murder case. Tiffany Lee is the daughter of a wealthy family from China. She and 2 others were accused of the 2016 killing of her ex-boyfriend, who is the father of her 2 children. Police say that Lee was worried that he was going to win a custody battle and recruited her boyfriend to help her kill him. Well, today the jury exonerated her. Her lawyer says Lee is now focused on reconnecting with her children after she spent 2 years under house arrest.
She's a good mom. She ain't perfect, but she is kind of dedicating herself to being a better person all the way around because she's been given a gift here. Not that she didn't deserve it. But
Lee plans to visit her family in China soon.
More testimony in the trial against a Florida man accused in a quadruple murder. Earlier this week, Henry Segura said he had no reason to kill his ex-girlfriend and her 3 children. It's a case Court TV is closely following. Here's Judge Ashley Wilcott.
Good afternoon. I'm Ashley Wilcott with Court TV. It is day 6 of testimony in the Henry Segura murder trial out of Tallahassee, Florida. The state started its rebuttal case today, but the defense has not rested just yet. They're waiting on a witness who can't make it to court until early next week. This is a case in which Segura is charged with killing his ex-girlfriend, Brandy Peters, her twin daughters, and the couple's 3-year-old son. Prosecutors say his motive was avoiding possible jail time for back child support he owed in the amount of more than $20,000. But the defense says it was a drug cartel hit. Yesterday, gang member and federal prison inmate James Carlos Santos took the stand and claimed he was the one who ordered Peters and her children killed. He said it was because Peters had stolen drugs and money from a Mexican cartel. Both sides anticipate that they will be done Monday, so closing arguments can begin Tuesday. As always, count on Court TV for gavel-to-gavel coverage. I'm Ashley Wilcott. Now back to you in the studio.
And you can keep up with that trial and others on Channel 5.3 or on CourtTV.com.
A local woman whose son died fighting in Iraq is asking for the public for help.
We just need people to step up.
The small donation, she says, will help honor veterans and their families. After losing her son, a Gold Star mother devoted herself to making sure all fallen service members are honored. And now she needs the community's help in her efforts.
She tells our 10 News reporter Amanda Brandeis a small donation honors both the veterans and their families.
I come out here a couple of times a month. Sometimes I just bring a chair and journal.
When Brenda Kaesler visits Miramar National Cemetery, she can't help but think she shouldn't be here.
People come and bring blankets and lay down on the grave.
How her son shouldn't be here.
We have a lot of Gold Star families here.
Her son Jeffrey was an Army combat medic. He did 2 tours in Afghanistan and Iraq.
He wanted to join the Army because he said, when you're a little boy, you don't play Marines, you play Army.
Jeff suffered a traumatic brain injury in Iraq, which later led to a brain aneurysm and his death.
He wanted to help. And after he got out, he said he would go back and do it all over again, just like so many of them do.
The day she laid her son to rest, Brenda learned about Wreaths of America.
It's all to remember our fallen veterans and honor those who serve and their families.
Each December, the nonprofit lays wreaths on the graves of those who served. 8 cemeteries in San Diego participate, and over 140,000 wreaths are needed. Right now, they're only 7.5% to goal.
Individuals can sponsor a wreath at $15 a piece, or